गुड इवनिंग रीडर्स। आज रीड ऑन रेंट पे हम एक बहुत ही रिनाउंड ऑथर जयंत देव जी, जिन्होंने काफ़ी किताबें लिखी हैं, ये पर इस बार हम उनकी जो सबसे रीसेंट किताब है धंतासुर, उसके बारे में उनके साथ आज बातचीत करेंगे। तब तक हम ऑथर हमसे ज्वाइन हो रहे हैं, तब तक मैं आपको रीड ऑन रेंट के बारे में बताता हूँ। रीड ऑन रेंट हमारा एक किताबों को लेके, बुक्स को लेके एक इनिशिएटिव है जो आपको किताब खरीदने का और रेंट करने का दोनों की सुविधा देता है। यू कैन बोथ बाय एंड रेंट at our store. So we have a collection of over 2,000 books, and the plans that we have for renting are very affordable. Like you can get you can get more than 5-10 books for the price of one. So please visit us. You can visit our store or check out our page for the plans, and so you can check the page for our plans. And this is about us. So let's join. So let's now try to connect with the author. Written about Asura named as Dhantasura. Dhantasura was the son of Gajasur, who was the son of Mahisasur. As we all know about Mahisasur and Mahisasur Mardini, that is about. Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Welcome to Read On.
Hi. Hello.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Sir,
I
am I
think
audible?
I haven't. I'm not able to hear you. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible now. Yes, sir. How's the weather there?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me,
Yes.
sir? Can you hear me?
Yes. Now I can. Now I can.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Hi.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm I'm good too. How's the weather there?
Oh, weather is fantastic today. It rained like almost
Great.
7 hours.
Oh,
So it's kind
it
of
must
good.
must have been very relieving in the heat that we are
Yeah.
facing nowadays.
It is. It is. Yeah.
It must have been very relieving.
Yeah. It actually became more cold than expected. So kind of good.
Yes, kind of good. Like a cooler weather is acceptable, but even a slightly warmer weather really irritates us.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir. So let us begin. Let's begin discussion, sir.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yes, sir. Sir, the first question is like as a writer,
Mhm.
when we write a book and when we say publish, it's like a brain child, like a child that we have created out of our own thoughts, out of our own hard work. How did it feel when you first
Correct.
held your book when it was finally published?
Oh, it was my first book is called I Met Parashurama, and I didn't have this idea of writing a lot of books. So I was like, okay, let me write one book because I had this idea. I wanted to write something because I been writing for a long time. So I was like, okay, let me write it. And then I published on Amazon and forgot about it. And then one day I started noticing people started reading my book and they started reviewing it. That is when I actually got my first print. So believe it or not, because at that time I was like shocked, like oh, a lot of people are actually reading. So let me also read what I wrote. Almost about what 6 months gap. So I printed my first book and I got it and it was like mind blown. Like oh my god, this is something which I love. And then that actually built it up and made me write more books. So yeah.
So it must have been an exhilarating experience to
Yeah,
to
it
uh,
is.
see the product of your hard work finally.
Correct, correct. No, the thing is, I couldn't identify what it was. People started reading and they identified it. So which is which is very different. So I'm
It,
glad
it,
it
it must have
happened.
felt better when people accept your work and they appreciate it. It's a different kind of pleasure that you feel that if finally someone has read my work, you feel worthy that my work is now being appreciated. It is people are loving
Correct,
it. It must have been
correct.
it must have been very a good experience to begin with.
Oh, it was, because I never believed in my work, and people started believing, and they started appreciating. It's like, it's like you can't even expect that kind of a reaction that what I got, where I never expected, and just that book just went off. Yeah.
The acceptance of the first book must have made writing the subsequent ones easier, so that now you have the confidence and that yes, I have something that people would love.
Correct. I never thought as a writing as a career, so that changed. Once that changed, I think everything changed. Yeah.
So you wrote while working full time. How was it? How did it become possible for you to write and work at the same time? Because both of them are full time jobs. Like writing requires hard work too. Requires a huge part of
Correct.
mind too. How did you do it?
So I planned my day out. One is, whoever the client I'm with, I know what work they needed. So delivery used to be a little more quicker than, like, say for example, if there was some delivery which has to go today, it has to go in first half itself, so that I keep my second half free so that I can work on it. So that's how I started doing. Other work, make it as quick as possible, so you have more time for other things. So that's the main thing what I did. And I had my
So that's what
writing experience as well. So it's been like what, 13 years right now, the whole writing experience. So I'm kind of quick in my writing. So the book, which is Dhantasura, this took me around 3 months to write, but then the research took me over 5 years. So you can calculate the time.
so you have more writing experience than many people have in their schooling.
Yeah,
So that must have been pretty cool.
yeah.
So, sir, many people have different flows of writing. Some people decide that I have to write a few pages a day. Some people write in the flow, like even if they get a thought in the midnight. What was your way of writing? Did you do it with discipline or with flow?
No, the only thing is as I told you, my first job as a writer, I joined as a writer to a company, and then I was trained in my head that, this so much hours you have to just sit and write. That's it, very mechanical. So that became like a hobby to me. So I didn't have a feeling like, okay, this hour I have to sit or this much time I have to give. If I sit, I can write. So that became one of my positive or plus points in my life, to write books. So I don't need like different spaces. I can just sit anywhere and start writing. So
That,
yeah, because I've been trained like that, right? So in my when I started my career, I've been trained like that. Okay, this is how you come to office at 9 o'clock, sit and write till you get out at 6 o'clock. So I used to write around 1,500 to 2,000 words. So I've been trained. So that training came very much useful when I started writing books, because I didn't need like inspiration or anything like that. Of course, I know the story and I've been researching on it. But then, to sit and write to that day, I don't need that motivation, because I know that I can sit and write it off. So that was one of the positive things. Yeah.
as a writer, you have to make the most of your time, however
Correct.
you get it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So I've heard that the story that you have written, the book Dhantasura, that you got the story in a dream. Is it true
Correct.
that you got it in a dream? Can you elaborate on how you get it? I'm really excited to know.
Sure. So I usually get a lot of dreams, and I, wake up at around 3 o'clock and write few pointers about the dream. And every morning I wake up, like, talk to my mom and tell her the story at breakfast. And she is my first editor, so she's like, okay, the story is good, the story is bad, and the story which she really liked, that is what becomes a book. So that was the exact process. And coming to the dream, I the Dantasura dream was little different than the usual dreams what I used to see. The first, as I remember, the first night when I was sleeping, and I saw a large. I was in a random temple, so I don't know what is that. And there was a big bird which flew over me. So that was the first experience. I thought, okay, it's some bird, and okay, it's fine. And the second night when I slept, I could see, Dhantasura in front of me, but then he is very far. So, for example, my house is on the third floor, and I can see the entire Bangalore city, almost half of the city. So I saw Dhantasura came and sat in almost a couple of houses away. So he came and sat there, and in that setting, I couldn't see his face or whatever. So I thought it was a large bird. And now coming back to the third one is where it struck me like I couldn't even explain how I felt. I'm in a place called like I'm in a place. Okay, it's a random place, and there are elephants around. Elephants in the sense stone elephants, the carved elephants. And I'm standing in the middle with two people, and one of the persons who has this power to see who is if for example if she sees you, she'll tell what's your past life in my dream. Okay, and she saw me and she said you were Dantasura in your last life. And I saw after seeing her, I saw like this, and then Dantasura came and sat on the the temple dome. Now, amazingly, this whatever the temple which I saw is in a place called as Ambujogai, which you can see in my last chapter of the book, which talks about Shivleni.
Yes, yes.
So that is a real place, by the way. That is a real place, and that is the only village where people know about Dantasura, which is strange. And there is a temple there which is called as Ambu Jogai, and the goddess name is Yogeshwari, who comes in the book, of course. So this is how it happened. So yeah, this is the dream, and then the reality was a little different when I went there. It was shocking to see the same place, come back. Yeah.
So we'll see that Dantasura is not a very famous asura, as we have already told that we only have the temple in that village. So why Dantasura, not
Correct.
Mahishasur, not Gajasur, and not others? So Dantasura was the one you saw in your dreams, right? So that's what
Correct.
motivated you to write about him.
Correct, correct. I heard the name Dhantasura. That's the first time I heard that name. And then I started researching more on it, and because I knew the features, I saw him in front of me. So I knew the features. So I started researching more on the features and the mythological stories what we have. I started researching more. And the funniest part is almost 4,000 kilometers away in Indonesia, this story is worshipped by people. And I was stunned to see because it's the same features, same everything. And then I started researching more. That's when while researching, it took me over 5 years to exactly know what was the story all about. And soon after, I discovered Ambujogai, and that's the only place and people know about Dantasura. So I was like, okay, this is all adding it up. So that was something. Yeah.
So is the Dantasura of your dreams is the same Dantasura we see on the cover of your book? Is he the same guy?
Yes, it is the same. This is how I exactly saw him. This is the exact, picture. By the way, there is an interesting story for this. So I got a person from Indonesia itself, and I exactly explained him how I want. And this is a painting actually of that
Oh,
Indonesian guy who actually painted this cover.
so the cover is
So
printed by an Indonesian guy.
yes, because he knew what I was talking about. He was the only person who could relate. So I told him this is the thing what I want, and then he painted this one, and he got me. So and that became an amazing cover. So
So India is a multilingual country.
Mhm.
English is still a language that is not understood by many, let's say the majority. Like
Mhm.
in the north, English is not a not a language that is understood only by a minuscule minority. And
Mhm.
even amongst our southern states, in the villages, English is not that prevalent. So,
Mhm.
have you considered translating in the local language such as Kannada, Tamil, or Hindi so that you reach
I
a wider audience?
not not Hindi for now, but then yes, Kannada. I'm planning to write. I've actually written a couple, but it will be little different. It will not be like a novel, but it will be like a poetry. So, like Ramayana or Mahabharata, that style of kind of poetry. So that will be coming in Kannada. So I'm not sure about the date, but then I'm still writing. So yeah.
No, sir, I'm saying that have you considered translating Dhantasura in local languages? So
Yeah,
have
that's
you
what
planned that? Can we expect?
uh, I'm rewriting, not like translating. Maybe I might translate in the future, but then right now I'm rewriting it. So in a different format, so
In a
people
different
understand
form.
different way. Yeah.
So, sir, which was the first book, first Hindu text that you read and that inspired you to write about the faith? So, what inspired you? Which book
Uh,
inspired you?
the one book which I even to this day I read it every time is interestingly not Bhagavad Gita. It is not. I
It is not.
love I love Bhagavata Purana or Srimad Bhagavatam. That is one of the most inspiring book, which I almost read it every day. For the only reason is that I don't know if you know about the how it was actually given to the knowledge, how it was passed down. Basically, the knowledge was given to Vishnu was gave that to Brahma, and Brahma gave that to Narada. So, however, that knowledge was actually retold by Parikshit Maharaj, who got the knowledge from Vyasa's son.
Parikshit.
So
Yes.
yeah, Parikshit had this curse of he will be dying in 7 days. So in that 7 days, he has to know everything about the spiritual and Vishnu or Shiva, everything. So Bhagavata Purana was actually it's like an essence of the Vedas. Now, interestingly, any person who is afraid of things, he has to read that book because it will give you an exact direction of what happens. For example, if you are fearing about death, for example, it exactly tells you why you should not fear about it. Exactly, it tells you how you can move on in your life in a different way. Because Parikshit had only 7 days. He cannot do any kind of a karma,
Only
good
seven.
karma reaction. So he got the knowledge
Hmm.
which we are getting. So that book actually inspires me a lot, and I suggest everyone who's watching should read it. That's very inspiring. It's more inspiring than Bhagavad Gita. That's for sure.
Yes. Sir, when in the beginning of the book, you mentioned the presence of a Godhead and three types of Vishnu. So that kind of
Correct.
thinking we see that is inspired by is was it inspired by ISKCON or is it also
No,
from the Bhagavad Puran?
no, it is from the Bhagavad Purana itself. If even the Vedas talks about it, the Vishnu, how he came into three forms. It is there in the in the Vedas as well. Of course, people have changed a couple of things, but then the original Vedas does talk about this.
We just do talk about the Supreme
Yes,
Godhead,
yes, yes,
but
yes.
people have had different interpretations of the text, so that is why we are seeing a little intellectual conflict about the how to perceive that story, as of what I
So
have
the
understood.
the thing is, a lot of our scriptures is very raw, and what the people have done is beautified it, like romanticize it is a wonderful word. So that is the reason a lot of our knowledge has been the whatever the knowledge, the Hindu knowledge has been lost because of this. For example, Ramayana. Ramayana is, if you read the raw version, it's a very, very different book than what you see on TV or
On
whatever
TV.
the advertised. The dialogues which are there, which is very hardcore dialogues, which you cannot, some of the things which you cannot even show it on, television. So not many people know about it. So even the Vedas are like that, or even the Bhagavad Purana is like that. So, so,
Also, we
so yeah.
maybe Valmiki and Vyasa did not think of the 21st century and how people would be perceiving that text later on. Maybe that
Correct.
was
Yeah.
Maybe that is something that the Hindus have refused to do over the past few last at least the last 100 years. They have refused to read their own texts, and they only rely on second-hand information, and then we blame the person who gives us the second-hand information. We
Correct. Yeah,
have
that is what is
refused
happening.
to we have refused to read our own texts, and then we blame that people misinterpreted them. That if so
Correct.
if a person was to interpret them, they should uh, have the effort to read it themselves, because
Correct. Correct.
only if we read it, only then we would realize that the knowledge repository of our ancestors was so great. But we only talk about it in let's say ethereal terms or superficial terms. People
Correct.
don't really realize that the depth is really present, but that only can be experienced when we do it ourselves and not depend
Yeah.
on others to do it.
Correct. Correct.
That is
Correct.
a
Correct.
very important thing that I've
Not
come
only,
across.
not only that, there are a lot of people, like a lot of videos also I've seen where it's been interpreted in a very different way. Like, for example, Hinduism has many gods. This is one of the craziest arguments which I've heard it everywhere. No, Hinduism has a lot of gods. Hinduism has 33 crore gods, and they're not all gods. There's only one God, and nobody talks about it. Because once you start talking about it, there is another branch of people who say, no, 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 he's not the God. But then what the Vedas says, nobody is like,
No,
like
don't
willing
agree.
to
That
accept.
all the gods, all the beings is superior or inferior, or are manifestation of the one divine that we don't see.
See, this is how I would give an example. Now you know Google, right? So Google is a company and there is one CEO, but under him there are a couple of managers, there are a couple of other things who manage certain elements of Google. Now we are talking about a small Google, and when you talk about the entire universe and beyond universe, which are many many universes, imagine how many people have to be working for it, right?
Hmm.
A lot of people
Very
don't think
yes.
about it. Of course, God has all powers and whatever, but then what he has done is he has expanded himself into a lot of forms so that they manage certain things, which is
So,
which is one of the smartest things to do.
so where did you get the idea to reconcile the Indonesian story and the in the Indian one? What made you think of Limbuswana and Dhantasura as one? Where did you get the idea? Did you read
uh,
Indonesian mythology?
no, I was reading couple of things, and then there are a lot of relations with Indian and Indonesian history, and not many people know about that. Of course, I don't want to give more examples, is because it's gonna come in my second and third book as well. So there are a lot of things, in Indonesia which Indians don't know about. For example, Lembuswana, they have such a beautiful history which is linked to Kutai kingdom itself. If you take out Kutai history, you can actually see the reference of Lembuswana, who he was. There is no reference of him coming. But then once you take the Puranas, there is one of the chapters which talks about Dhantasura as well, his fight with this one. Of course, my story is a fictional one, but then the relation is pretty much it's similar. So that's what I would say. And that's when I was when I was researching, when I saw this Botswana, I was like, this is the same thing. There's no changes. The features are same, the things are same. So I was like, okay, this might be something, and then I started developing more, story more. Yeah.
So one last question to conclude the discussion. When can we
So
expect the
yeah.
sequel?
It was supposed to come, uh, but it's gonna take a little time uh, because of certain things what happened. Uh, so very soon, this year for sure. So other than the second book of Dhantasura, there is also one more book which I would be releasing. It's called Asura Roop. Uh, it's about Asura, so I don't want to say much about it, but then it's about
I
Asura.
we
So
understand the
not about
premise.
God. Yeah, not about God,
It's
but
about the
Asura.
Asuras.
So yes,
Not about the Suras, but we'll read about the Asuras.
correct.
Thank you so much for making time for us read on it. And we are very thankful to you. And your book was a great read. I've read it. It was a great read, and I would like others to to read it as well. Thank you so much, sir. Have a brief.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.